Welcome to the House of David, Life Everlasting, a PBS television series that will chronicle the life and times of the House of David. We are so happy that you're with us, but before we move on, we have to tell you about our underwriters. Those are the folks that helped us bring you this presentation.
Telling incredible stories and keeping the past alive, Moondog Productions is proud to bring you the great history of the House of David in Southwest Michigan. Find out more about Moondog Productions by going online to moondogpro.net.
The House of David Museum is proud to tell the stories of Southwest Michigan's rich history. Located in St. Joseph, Michigan, the House of David Museum has a wide array of memorabilia for your viewing pleasure. To schedule a tour, call 269-325-0039.
Post-production facilities provided by True Blue Farms in Grand Junction, Michigan. True Blue Farms has been contributing to the overall health and wellness to people all over the world for over 100 years with blueberries. Find out more at truebluefarms.com.
Telling Southwest Michigan's history through radio and podcast. Rob Bird's Moondog Show and the House of David podcast are happy to be a part of telling this great story. Find Rob Bird's Moondog Show or the House of David podcast at podbean.com.
Thank you for staying with us. I'm your host, Rob Bird. On this episode, we're going to be talking about the state of the House of David as it sits today. This piece of the House of David Life Everlasting film will deal with what has been restored, what is no longer there, and what is being done to protect the historical legacy of the House of David. After that, Chris Siriano will join me here in the studio to talk about where the House of David is today. Sit back, relax. We'll see you back here in the studio shortly on House of David, Life Everlasting. Over the years and a lot of decay, a part of history slowly fading into obscurity, many changes have been made at the House of David.
It makes me feel bad to see any building tore down, really, because that's our history. And you take those away, all you have is your photographs and your memories. And when they tore down Jerusalem and Bethlehem, the two buildings next to the main office, Shiloh, I really didn't like that. It just took part of history away. When they tore down the cold storage plant, I pretty well had free reign. I could take anything I want, look at anything I want, because Dewhurst, his office was there. So it's got down in the basement, there's 2 foot of water, boxes stacked up on the skids. We got to go through all of that. That's where I found the letter Chris Siriano has about if Babe Ruth could come play for the House of David.
Because of their administration building and their minds, everything had a place and a purpose. And so I could go in there 25 years ago and meet with Howard Crossman, who was the business administrator, or Wilma, who was part of their office, and say, hey, I heard that Louis Armstrong came here way back and played at the park. Do we have any evidence of that? And they would go, well, let us look, Chris, and come back tomorrow. And I'd go back tomorrow. They'd have copies of checks, or they'd have the check that they checked, canceled check to Louis Armstrong. They'd have the sheets of when they booked him, and maybe copies of the posters of when they advertised. Unbelievable organization.
Dewhurst's secretary was really detailed. Her papers, if she got a letter and answered the letter, they'd both be right there.
And they prided themselves for that. I mean, every aspect of trains, food, music, entertainment, or farming, anything, there was a file, a place for it. So, and I'm sure that still to this day, it's still there, because, Greg Eversole and Brian Zebar are both accountants. They're both CPA guys, so they're very organized too. So I'm sure they've maybe even done a greater job.
The truth is that no one will really ever know the full impact that the House of David has made on Benton Harbor or the world.
Well, sometimes extraordinary stories that you kind of think probably aren't all that legitimate, but they make good stories. And using something metaphorically or in a careless fashion, for example, Benjamin and Mary never were, nor did they ever say, that they were the Messiah representing the next coming. They were the seventh messenger. Of course, Mary now is saying, proclaiming that she and Benjamin are the seventh messenger together, you see. And that's really the crux of the division of the House of David original colony and the new city of David. So, and I know for myself, there are times I say, well, that guy must have been the Messiah. Thinking more or using it more in a metaphorical kind of manner, not meaning to suggest that this is the Messiah. No. So that would be a regret that I might have passed along that impression. That it should not be passed along. That is not true.
The last time I was actually there was in 2004. And the time before that, I was 18. So I hadn't seen it in a long time. I hadn't seen it in like 25 years. So it was a shock in 2004. I went to go see my dad. And I was staying with him. He was living in the annex, which is the little house that's attached to the Diamond House. So it's attached to the Diamond House. And I'm sitting outside, and there was like chunks of the archway between the Diamond House and the annex literally just fell off. And there was just so much decay. And it was the year before they started working on the Diamond House to restore it. And at that point, I had no idea that what was even in the works, that it was even planned to be restored, and it was just really, really sad to see that even happening, because knowing for what it went to, such a thriving business. It was a business. Ben Purnell was a businessman. He knew what to do. And it just went from that to like almost nothing.
I think if you talk to the remnant, they would say, we're not leaving anything behind. Still strong in the belief, and that they will be going into the millennium in a youthful body. Let's say if it doesn't happen that way, they're certainly leaving some good memories.
They showed us that even in the midst of a big, crazy world, you can have your own little world, and just kind of expand out from that. And that's what they did. They just wanted to share their world. I don't think it was always about their belief, but that there was a different way you could live, the humbleness and serving each other.
So I think the fact of the celibacy was terrible. And the fact that in 1947, when Dewhurst died, that was it. They didn't recruit new members. How in the world? Like, how are you going to go on? There's an end to that now, where there shouldn't be that. You should keep recruiting people. You should keep having babies. And if you believe in what Benjamin taught, someday paradise would come. But how can you say that, okay, this is the last person and it doesn't happen? And he had a teaching, I call it an out clause. He had a paragraph in his teachings that said the membership could get down to such a small number that you could fit all the members inside a closet before paradise comes.
I remember interviewing the little girl. Actually, she was in her 80s at the time. She said, I was so thrilled at the Granda Vista Motor Court. Remember, that is both sides of Red Arrow Highway. Beautiful. They have this huge fountain that every day will spew water to 7 levels in 7 different colors. And she could turn the switch to turn it on. And boom, up it goes. You can't, you just don't get enough opportunities to share that with someone.
In the beginning, I was kind of naive to their beliefs, so I would just ask, like, I don't understand, like, how could you even still believe that everybody's died? They're all died. Your whole family, all your friends are gone. Like, how? I don't understand. Like, and they would say, but Ben prophesied that the message is that the membership can get down to such a small number. There's only going to be a few of us that we could fit inside a closet. So they held to that until the very end. They never changed. So they died with that. They died with believing, which is, I guess, a beautiful thing. I mean, those people that devoted their entire life, every minute of every day, to this faith. That's a pretty powerful thing.
At its heyday, at the height, it was something that was perfect for the time. I really kind of think that in any case, it wouldn't have survived anyway. I really don't. Because times changed, but the House of David never changed. They had to do, the things that were going along at the time. But then as members started dying off, it was so sad, because my dad would call me, almost every year or two, and he'd say, oh, Joe Crow died, or Lillian died, and it was just really sad to hear. I think that was probably one of the reasons why, that was one of the reasons why it was hard for me to even go back for so many years in between. It's definitely something that needs to be kept alive because of its unusualness. You don't see this anywhere else. I've never seen this anywhere else. And I've lived it all across the United States and been in different places. But it's unique. It's so different than anything else. And so it's kind of sad to see it go. I mean, Frank Rosetta, he wasn't going to be around forever to do his Hydra Stone and, and his beautiful little statues and sculptures. These people weren't going to be around forever. And the sad thing was, they didn't have children to pass on their talents to. That's the real shame, I think. They were such an intelligent bunch of people. It was just incredible. You can't even describe it, because, when it comes down to it, it's not even really about the whole thing. But when you see these pictures and stuff, and then you think about the relationships that you had with those people and how wonderful they were, willing. They were so willing to talk and, just be open to you, I mean, yeah, they had this thing here because, you were this and they were House of David, so there was always this little thing there, but they really did love to serve other people. And so, it's about the relationships, really. And, these people that, these guys that went out on the traveling teams and the girls' bands and the, all of that, they had their own camaraderie too. So within this huge circle of community, there were also these, other smaller communities and relationships and stuff like that. And it worked. It really did work.
I've thought about the story of the House of David and where it could have went. And 100%, if they would have just procreated, if they would have just knocked off that celibacy rule and let people have children to carry on, what's your future going to be? That's, in my opinion, it's like race suicide. I love the people. I loved them like they were my grandma and grandpas that I met later in life. So respect them. Most intelligent people probably ever met in my life, and I've met tens of thousands. Why didn't they change that part? And I know Benjamin taught celibacy, but he taught that, paradise was going to come in 1906, and then he said, okay, 1909, and okay, maybe 19. So he kept backing that date up. So, it was confusion as to what was really going to happen. And I feel like if they would have just kept letting people have children and families, they would have grown like the Shakers and like the, many people that were ginormous. But the Shakers too were celibate.
I'm just one of many descendants of the members of the House of David. And I think we all carry a bit of that with us, no matter what, whether you believed in it or don't believe it, or however, we're all carrying a bit of that character. The characters that those people had were the most humble, gentle people. And and they instilled that too by just showing us how they lived.
It doesn't matter where I've ever spoken to people. People have come up to me and want to share something, want to share some memory that they had, something, interaction that they had with people there, what they got to do.
We're back on the House of David, Life Everlasting. Thanks for staying with us. This last piece of the film that you've been looking at has been about where the House of David is today, and I guess kind of ultimately the demise of the House of David. I mean, the House of David is still around physically, but the House of David, when you think about it as a colony with members, is gone. Several things have led up to that. Obviously, not procreating isn't going to help with that. So I guess tell me a little bit about, quickly, we talked in the last episode about Judge Dewhurst after Ben had died. And let's just say he ended up getting the House of David. Mary went to the Mary City of David, which I think might be a good subject for our second season. But tell me a little bit about where that kind of picked up, they separated, and then let's kind of get us to where we are today and what's been going on with the House of David.
After the death of Benjamin, the Judge Dewhurst actually was awarded the control of the original House of David colony. So Mary left and was evicted, actually, and left with about 320 members.
When you say evicted, did the sheriff come and remove her?
The court ordered.
The court didn't, and she lawfully did what the court asked.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. So then a lot of the original members left with Mary, walked down the road 1,000 feet, and started their own House of David there.
And when you say a lot of them, half. It was off by one. Did she take one more? Did Dewhurst get one more?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure.
But it was half. One of them got one more member.
About 325 people that left with her and started her own version of House of David. She called it the Israelite House of David as reorganized by Mary Pennell. Same exact beliefs, same everything. Even built their own Shiloh house, which was more conservative is what I'd say. Sure. But they had their own bakery, their own print shop, the whole thing. So
that's a good subject for the second season.
Yeah.
I do believe for second season. But Judge Dewhurst kept the amusement park and the big mansions, Diamond House.
Correct.
And with that was really the big way into finances, into money. They made a lot of money.
A lot of money. I have things that show that they had $25 to $30 million on the books back in the 20s.
Yeah.
So that equates to a boatload of money today. And and Dewhurst was a mastermind at enterprises and businesses, and he went on to acquire a gold mine in western Oklahoma, and not only did they have the coal mine, but then they had Dew-Kist. Like a soft drink company out west. And because he was from the West, he loved that. Right. So life went on for both sides. Both played baseball, both did everything. House of David original had the amusement park. Sadly, they all passed away. Yeah. They didn't procreate, and they never changed that.
And they stopped taking new members.
Stopped taking new members in 1947. Willie Robertson was the last guy to join.
And the last guy to pass.
That's correct. Yeah, for the last one to join and the last guy to pass, and Willie Robertson. So he ran the print shop. He had come from Scotland, actually, And so they all passed away. And at the House of David, the last one died, I think, about 7 years ago. The city of David has one guy left. He's in a nursing home now.
Yeah.
So there's no members alive other than the one city of David guy. They do have an archival group that is housed at the Shiloh Mansion
Right.
now. That are trying to put everything back together document-wise.
Sure.
Amusement Park was bought by myself and two other gentlemen in 2009, and now that's all ran by Eden Springs Park. Which
Preservation.
Is
So, yeah, I think. Yeah, and that's kind of a really nice thing. They're doing some great things. They rebuilt the trestle. Why can't it was South Trestle?
the East Trestle.
East Trestle. Okay. I mean, I had a 1 in 4 chance of getting it right. And I hear they're going to be working on the West one.
Correct.
Also, they put in some new track. They've been cleaning stuff up. They have a lot of the original depot looks great.
Really great.
And they got the seed building. It seems like that got one restored. And right next to it is one that is in what the shape it would be if they weren't doing anything. One that's almost completely fallen in.
Right.
So it's a real interesting. If you go and check it out, and I highly encourage people to go check out the amusement park. You can pretty much, for the most part, go in and walk around and look. If there's somebody there working, most likely they'll come ask hello, ask what you're doing, and then they'll tell you a lot about it if you ask questions.
Right. They're great at giving historic tours.
Yeah.
And they're open to the public from Memorial Day to Labor Day, and it's only like a couple bucks to ride the little steam. They have a bunch of steam engine trains there.
And they do
They're
that for
running.
Christmas and Halloween. They have specials where the trains come out.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. So the old baseball diamond's still there, even though it's not being used. They got home plate marked.
Right. And there's plenty of trees that would be in the way now. But that fence out there, for all those who may not know, that fence over there is part of the original fence that was there from when the teams played.
Yeah, in history, baseball history calls that a part of the Field of Dreams.
Yeah.
Because Babe Ruth played there, Satchel Paige played there, all the early Negro League teams, along with a lot of barnstorming teams. So it still exists. A lot of places across the country, they don't.
Yeah. And one of the other cool things that they had at the amusement park in that time was the Little House. And there is still one alive.
There is.
Or at least surviving in someone's backyard.
It's correct. Yeah, the little miniature stone house is still it's fully restored now. And I pray that it'll come back to the park soon.
Yeah.
It's at the guy called the Stonemaker's house, so he's taking good care of it. But he did restore the little stone lighthouse, which is now back at the park on the railroad ride.
Okay.
So
yeah, and they're doing a great job of that, and it's good to see that there are people that care enough about the history to. I mean, they're volunteers. People aren't getting paid, so they're out there doing it for the love of the House of David
and doing a good job, a really great job.
Yeah.
So it's beautiful. It's it's well manicured. They're very courteous and kind, and they do sell souvenirs and copies of our movies and things like that. So
and the fountain is something that they've been working on restoring also. And I mean, what a magnificent piece of the park that was.
The terraced fountain hillside that was built with the help of Chick Bell during the time and they had the big amphitheater and the nightly shows and was
vaudeville. What another great subject for our second season.
So much excitement.
Yeah. Yeah. And we have some plans for that. We've got some notes jotted down about what we might want to do for a second season, being that this is already our last episode of the House of David. Of 8 episodes, it's been fun. We've had a good time. Phil Dixon was on the show, and it was good to have him. What a great wealth of knowledge he is also.
He's a blessing.
Yeah. So we have the House of David Films. We haven't even mentioned that really in any of these. HouseofDavidFilms.com. You can go there and actually find the links to these films. And then you can also see a little bit more about Chris, myself, find out why we do what we do. There's some more pictures that maybe you haven't seen before. And we're going to be planning on putting these episodes on that also. So houseofdavidfilms.com, you can go there and watch all these episodes.
Plus all the podcasts.
Yeah, and all the podcasts are there too. And we'll be building that up as this series grows. So Chris, I want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Suriano's House of David Museum, and Suriano's House of David Baseball Museum. You know which one I like better. All right. So until next year, we'll see you right here on The House of David, Life Everlasting.
Telling incredible stories and keeping the past alive, Moondog Productions is proud to bring you the great history of the House of David in Southwest Michigan. Find out more about Moondog Productions by going online to moondogpro.net.
The House of David Museum is proud to tell the stories of Southwest Michigan's rich history. Located in St. Joseph, Michigan, the House of David Museum has a wide array of memorabilia for your viewing pleasure. To schedule a tour, call 269-325-0039.
Post-production facilities provided by True Blue Farms in Grand Junction, Michigan. True Blue Farms has been contributing to the overall health and wellness to people all over the world for over 100 years with blueberries. Find out more at truebluefarms.com.
Telling Southwest Michigan's history through radio and podcast. Rob Byrd's Moondog Show and the House of David podcast are happy to be a part of telling this great story. Find Rob Byrd's Moondog Show or the House of David podcast at podbean.com.